and welcome to Black Crow Gaming. This is our podcast, and tonight I'm joined by two special guests. Two faces you probably don't see very often on the podcast. One you've never seen on the podcast before. One you've seen maybe a couple times, but you typically see him doing our battle report. So we've got Simon. Simon, give us a wave.
Hi.
There he is. Look at that bearded wannabe. And then our
What do you mean a wannabe?
Well, you're just not quite as good as Josh, are you?
No one is. He's beautiful.
Yeah, he's got a great... But then our very handsome man we've got in the top right here, who is joining us all the way over from Canada, I believe. Is that right, Kari? I don't want to...
Handsome man.
Oh, yeah, keep looking around. I don't want to insult you. It's Canada.
Canada.
Yeah.
Canada's a very big place. I'm just north of Toronto in a little town called Barrie.
Ah, we actually have a berry very close to where I am as well. Actually, funny enough, over in the UK. So we're doing you are actually, Scary, our first overseas guest.
Well, I'll take the accolades. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
So, big shout here is Simon is extremely excited. As soon as
there was going to be banners behind me and party hats and everything if I got told off.
All you need to do is create a little tray and put all the slith that you've accumulated over the years.
Yes.
Slith party bus. Let's go.
Oh yeah.
Slith party bus. This podcast is already taking a direction I wasn't expecting. Actually, no,
really?
I'm not.
You're
but
shocked?
you know,
No.
when our viewers see this, they would have obviously seen our previous Quipster podcast, and all of a sudden, both these podcasts are taking a very similar direction, which is very strange.
Well, it's if you're an old school Dark Eldar Drukari fan, the Slith party bus was like a classic. You know, it's something that you can all relate, and you can hear it in your head for the old raid.
What edition was
the old
that?
podcast. 7th, I think.
Yeah.
It was the Slith party bus. It was like, because they were all individual models, and you'd go 10 of them in a raider or something. Anyway, whatever. Fun times.
So I remember back in, I think it was 4th or 5th, when Drukari were able to, they had this ability where if you were out of distance of a certain, you were just -1 to hit, and then that stacked with night fighting. When was that back in?
No, that was the Night Shield, and it was -6 inches to the range that you could target them.
Yeah, that's it. And then pop that with night fighting as well. It used to be absolutely horrendous to play against.
It's 3rd, 4th, and then a little bit of 5th edition, I think.
Yeah. That's it. This is me going back. That's when
That's like you're kind of stepping on my toes from the questions here.
Oh, okay. Simon has
See,
spoken.
it was a sabotage all along.
Yeah.
Was
like
the
a true
shadows.
Archon.
You know, this is me just coming in with beard envy. Right. As I have promised Simon, I'm gonna hand over the reins of the Black Crow Gaming podcast. And
God.
Simon, please don't get me banned.
No promises.
Yeah.
No promises. But yes, first off, amazing to finally chat to you, Scary, and pleasure to see you. Can you just give a bit of a rundown of Scary and about yourself? And
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, number one. It's really nice. I love chatting and talking hobby and everything. It's funny because I feel like being someone that's been part of the YouTube community for like 12 years, I've gotten to be on a lot of podcasts, and then it's like, so the ones that are like now, established and whatnot, it's like they kind of do their own thing now. But I love like chatting with like up and comer starter stuff, because that's like we all start somewhere. And so it's like I love it. I love getting invited. It's like the first comment that Tabletop Tactics ever got on a video was me, right? Like that sort of thing, so it's like it's awesome to see the community growing. So thank you for having me. As for me, I'm playing the game for 27 years, Warhammer 40k since early 3rd edition. Dark Eldar was not my original army. My original army is Black Templars, and I still have my old school original army.
Did you get the 3rd edition box set that had the Dark Eldar and the Black Templars? Nice.
Yep. My brother is 2 years younger than I. We used to split the contents of the box and play it against each other. We quickly found out the Dark Eldar were severely unmatched in that matchup. And so we ended up starting to split the Marines in that box, which was like 2 units of, like, it was a 10-man tactical squad and 5 Terminators or something that came.
There was a Land Raider as well, I think.
Land
Land Speeder.
Yeah, so we banned the land speeder a lot of the times, and then we'd go, you know, you get, or the person that didn't get the rocket launcher got the land speeder. I think that's what we used to do. We'd do like, you'd split, you know, 5 Space Marines each. One of you would get the Sergeant and Flamer. One of you would get the rocket launcher. The guy that got the Sergeant and Flamer got the land speeder, and then we'd rotate who got the third odd Terminator, because we'd get 2 Terminators each plus the odd one, you know, sometimes, and then we'd like roll the dice and see who got it for that little bout. And we played lots of games when we were like 11 or 12 with that. I remember. Yeah, so that's how I started. Dark Eldar didn't start till, I know, 4th or like late 4th, early 5th edition, or most of 4th. Played for a good 2 years or 3 years before the Codex came out. After what, 14 years of being the 3rd edition Codex, back when you didn't get codexes, kids. That was not a thing.
Dark days.
Yeah.
Dark days. Good. You know, no data slate back then. No
FAQ, or like few and far between. If something was broken, it was broken for like 4 years. Other than that, I run a YouTube channel and a Patreon, Scarredcast. I do contract work and film with the likes of like Mini Wargaming. I'm a member of the Canadian National 40K team. I've been to the WTC and ETC, I think 4 times already. So all in all, I love competitive 40K. I'm a coach, you know, I am a member of the Art of War crew as well, and one of their coaches. But at the same time, I love narrative, and like I love Crusade, and I love all the like lore aspect of the game as well. So I just enjoy the hobby in general. Whether it's cutthroat, like all the little things matter, or whether it's running a fun list with no balance thought whatsoever, just trying to create a cool story. So I like both of them. I also play like fantasy and Age of Sigmar. I play all the games.
Yeah, I've been seeing some of your old world stuff. Your undead skeletons coming out to haunt everyone.
Yeah, ta-da! That's what I'm working on right now, actually.
There's some stunning old world models that my wife loves to paint.
Yep.
But I would love to play that game. It's
just a blast from the past. You know, like I'm just so happy my skeletons are back on squares, because they were on rounds for a long time, and that made me sad.
It doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel right.
Nope, does not feel right at all.
No. But yeah, that's interesting.
I used to love the Empire, Simon. That was my my fantasy battle army, and the main reason I liked it is because you could do a cool gun line with it, with the
you can go back to that. You can do that again.
I could, yeah, but for some reason I've got a gaming team called Black Crow Gaming that insists that I play 40K.
It is in our contract. You can't play anything but 40K.
Yeah. The algorithm doesn't like it when you switch.
No.
Really?
That's the truth. Oh yes, it's like being a YouTuber. Like I've found that like you do like 40K bat reps or 40K stuff, and like the algorithm will be, oh, those are the normal, like, you know, that's what I expect from a video or whatever. And then you do like Necromunda, and like the views just tank. And it's like, well, the algorithm doesn't like me when I do Necromunda, because it's not the demographic I've built, right? And then and then it doesn't get spread everywhere. Yeah.
How dare you grow and change?
How dare you not do what the algorithm wants? It's frustrating. That's a whole other topic. In like, you know, running a YouTube channel, the frustrations, you know.
That's a whole video on itself.
Yep.
Damn. But yeah, so yeah, my first impression of Scary was I started in the back end of 7th. Sorry, got back into it at the back end of 7th because I bought the 3rd edition box set that had the Drukari and the Black Templars, and it was
hell, I tell you.
Yeah, my brother wouldn't play it. My dad bought it for me and never talked to me about it ever again. My brother refused to play it, so it got painted very badly and then binned, and then got back into it in 7th edition. And then I remember watching a video on Mini Wargaming, which I think a lot of people did, was seeing yourself, Scary, using Beastmasters. That was the first thing I saw, was you using Beastmaster pack against, I think, Matt from Mini Wargaming.
Was it Dave?
Possibly. I can't remember. It was one of them. I remember you played a lot of Mini Wargaming, but this is the first video I saw you was on Mini Wargaming.
If that was 7th edition, that was a while ago. Like that was I don't think I was on Mini Wargaming in 7th. I don't think I ever I think the
It might have
first
been
game I
early
played was
8th
eighth.
when
Yeah.
literally the indexes
About
had just come out.
It was 3 years ago. I've been there for almost 3.5 years ago. So it was like,
Okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was just like, who's this, charismatic, crazy person that's talking so passionate about this Drukari army? I must find out more. And then, yeah, went down that rabbit hole.
It's a deep rabbit hole. So I'm glad
Yeah.
you're still standing here.
Yes, yeah, it's the Talos. That's what drew me in.
Such
The
a cool
Talos
model.
are just my favorite models.
They are so cool.
Yeah. What's your favorite model?
The Tantalus for the Dark Eldar.
Really?
Just like the big Tantalus. Oh yeah. Like there's a little short story that was written about the Tantalus, about like an Archon basically running away from everybody that's hunting him because he has the blueprints of this new Talos thing. And they all want to take away the blueprints so they can build them for his own, but it's like faster than a Raider and more agile than a Venom and like all this cool in the lore. And then you actually see it. It's like, it looks really cool. It's like a catamaran or whatever with like two hulls, and it's just I love it.
It's a stunning model. It's great. It's a pig to build, but it's a stunning model.
Yeah, so I'd say that's the most iconic. Like, even though it's not part of the main range, it's Forge World. It is an iconic Drukari unit that you always was like legendary back in the day. Like, did you own a Tantalus? And I only got mine, I want to say pre-pandemic, like just before the pandemic.
Oh, really?
Kind of went down. So I got mine, not too long ago, maybe 6 years or 7 years, and I was so like pumped that I finally had it. I built it, painted it in 3 days. It's like I have to put this on the table. Yeah.
Did you leave your room at any point whilst you had that model in the building stages?
Yeah, sleeping, was the thing I had to do, but I didn't sleep very much. So, it was more the scrubbing. It was like the soaking it in the soap and then like scrubbing it down to get all the resin stuff off. That was like the main part. Luckily enough that there weren't a lot of warped parts, because sometimes there's like horror stories. So my sail wasn't really warped, so I was able to quickly like straighten it up and stuff. And then I just I painted it all up real fast.
Nice. How many Reapers did you have before they?
I have 2 Reapers. Reapers. I still use them in Crusade. Every once in a while they'll be my budget Ravager.
Again, they were awesome. I still love them. I'm so sad they went into Legends.
Yeah, it makes sense. I understand why as a company they're doing it, but as a fan, I'm like, why? Why would you do this to me? Yeah.
Damn. What drew you to Drukari?
So that long story, but I'll try and be brief for the listener's sake, because because I tend to wax poetic, or I tend to just really go on if you don't stop me.
Please go on.
So the main, like, I own the little Dark Eldar models from the kit, right? So like from 3rd edition, they were just in a box. And about 4th edition, early 4th edition, was the edition where assault cannons became gods, right? It was like the assault cannon had this boost, and there was assault cannons everywhere. And then Black Templars was still a thing. I just remember running a Black Templar army that was like 2 big hordes of Crusaders, like 15 and 15 with characters, and they were very aggressive. And I had like a couple of dreadnoughts, and then like some Razor, but maybe a Land Raider Crusader, and the Terminators with the lightning claws and a chaplain. And that was like, I won about 40 to 50 games in a row against the folks that I used to play with, just like on Saturday nights. And nobody wanted to play my Black Templars anymore. And they're like, you are only winning because Black Templars are good. And I was like, I'll show you, you bastards. And so I was like, well, what army do you want to play? It's like, well, how about an army that nobody plays? They're like, Dark Eldar. Dark Eldar suck, blah, blah, blah. It's like, nobody plays them. They're terrible. I was like, challenge accepted.
Yeah.
And that's how I started playing Dark Eldar. I had a friend of ours, or a friend, Mike, he had like 10 units of just Cabalites on foot with like an Archon. Like that was his list. It was like 10 units or 6 units of 10 Cabalites with like Dark Lances and Blasters. That like he just ran a foot army with no transports. And so I basically got those off of him, and that was like the start. And then my local shop had like a Raider that had been on the shelf for like 20 years or something, because there's dust on it and stuff. And so I grabbed that, I had my first Raider. And I slowly started building up a few things here and there, jet bike, and started reading all the forum articles on Dark Eldar, and I really like immersed myself in the faction. And I would go to like my local RTT. If I won any prizes, they would basically, I'd buy all the old Dark Eldar off their shelves. And I ended up developing a really fun list that had like a couple of Cablite squads and raiders, a couple of witches and raiders. I had my crazy Archon on a jet bike and like a little jet bike retinue with them. I sometimes ran incubi, but you had like a couple of incubi and a raider. And then I had like the beast pack master with the beast pack. Anyway, and I ended up getting really good with the Dark Eldar to the point where the amount of dark lances you could put in was crazy. And it was like, you could just table people. Which is like, you brought tanks, they just all died. You know, they had infantry, and then I started learning how to use all the esoteric weapons like horrifexes that pinned all your units, and like, you know, grotesques and mandrakes that like were not targetable, and you couldn't actually damage them unless you had like a certain strength threshold, and like all this stuff. And I got really into that sort of pirate view. And there was this battle report on the original Games Workshop website. Kudos to anybody who finds this old battle report, but it was a couple of raiders. It was like a little old school like White Dwarf bat rep that was just like on the website against Necrons. And I read that battle report so many times. It was always the thing that like just inspired me, like the paint jobs. It was the raiders, because I didn't have any of those models at the time. And it sort of created in my mind's eye this vision of like pirates and dark elves jumping out and yelling and darkness all around. And then I just got hooked. Yeah. Nice. And I guess I now fit into that role. I've typecast myself, which is fine by me.
Well, you're doing a fairly good job with it. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
How many events have you won with Drukari?
Don't tell that.
How many ITC top fives have you achieved? How many ITC best in Drukaris have you achieved?
I haven't actually gotten an ITC best in Drukari.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you had one.
I have one from the I have a couple best. I was the 1 year I didn't go to the LVO just before the pandemic. I didn't win it by less than 1 point.
Oh man. Damn.
And that was it. And I've only really been sort of like doing the whole ITC track and trying to be competitive since like 2018, like mid 2018. So I played like 2018. I kind of like was doing everything. Went to like the 2019 LVO, right? And then I was okay. There was like top 20. Like I came in okay. I think I almost won there as well, but there was like one other Dark Eldar player that done better at me at LVO, so they of course got all the points for that. And then or was it Eldari? Anyway, I don't remember what it was, but and then I didn't go to the next one, but that was like all of 2019. I was really trying, but my focus has always been teams. So like if I take a list to a tournament, I'm usually testing a teams list, which isn't always the best list to take to a singles event.
No. Yeah.
So it's more about getting practice rather than trying to place at an event, right? It's about being consistent and learning your matchups. So you can't really expect to be like, I'm building a singles list to just win events. It's more about, I'm building a defender or an attacker list or whatever that has very specific bad matchups. Because most of like 2019, I ran a list that had 13 Venoms in it or something like that. And it was very much designed to just table the Plague Bearer spam list, right? That was out there.
Yeah.
It was just like the 100 Plague Bearers or whatever that list was.
Yeah, face that.
Which my army did great against that. But then like Custodes jet bikes were also a thing back then. And if I played against like Custodes jet bikes, my list did 0 damage. Like it just didn't kill anything. So, you know.
That's a sore subject for me, Scary, the Custodes jet bikes right now.
Yeah, he just presses buttons there, do you? Jesus.
Did I? It's like my homunculus whispered this into my ear.
Yeah.
And your pain is ripening like a fruit, which I will pick and feast on later, and the juice will just dribble down my beard, and it will be delicious.
There's a lot of it. it's very
please,
right now.
Please.
You not feel the tears from there, Scary? Jesus.
It invigorates.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory to this as well, because we talked.
This isn't about you.
This is about teams. We're going to go into teams. This is really related to teams. So, obviously, the Custodes Codex has just dropped, and
Like from a desk onto the floor.
as in it's dropped the other day. Like we've all got it. We've all seen the rules. We've all seen it on YouTube, and it's not great. And we're going to the ITT Birmingham, which as Black Crow Gaming. So we've got 30 players going. So we're taking 6
That's
teams.
awesome.
Six
Nice.
teams we're going, and which is amazing. We're all really excited, and I was like, awesome. I'm gonna take my Custodes. I do well with my Custodes. You know, like I'm really excited about this. And then it dropped, and I was like, oh my god, like this is bad. What do I do?
I disagree with you, but that's another topic for another day. I think people are underestimating the Custodes book.
Yeah, I think there's plays, there's builds for them.
It's the same
You gotta
rhetoric
find
that
it.
we heard with Sisters of Battle. Sisters of Battle were crap, bad index, and then all of a sudden, every single member of the Art of War team got spanked by a guy that named all his units, and they found out that Sisters were good, and now Sisters.
So-
are good. I think there's tech in there that like, you just anyway. That's
I think again, Talons. I need to play with Talons, but in the end, I'm now speed painting a Necron army to help my team,
Mhm.
and I've got what, like 16 days to finish it, and it's just
You can do it. You'll be fine.
It's taking over my life.
You've got. I believe in you. I believe in you.
Yes.
And in the meantime, please share that pain and frustration. And I
It sustains
will
us.
become more powerful than you can ever imagine.
Yeah. So, Sky, when are we going to see you at a UK event? When are we going to go at the LGT?
Well, I'd love to travel and go to every event that I can. That would be the best. I would love to go to every international event possible. The way that happens is budget, right? Like it's not like I do content creation full time. This is my job. And I do the Patreon, and that's like I've been doing this for 5 years now, almost 6 years. Or this is going on my 6th year of full time. So it pays my bills and puts food on the table. And then I get to go to some events, but I don't get to go to all of them. If the Patreon like exploded and I had like TTT money or VT money or whatever, then sure, I'd go to every event I could. And with my miles card, I'd probably get lots of miles on my travel. But sadly, not yet. I do want to go to some events in the UK next year, though. I'd like to make that happen. I want to do like Adepticon, and then I want to go because I haven't done that yet. And then I'd like to go to a couple of the big UK events because they're massive. You guys have like a super major every week, or every month.
One a month, I would say.
Yeah, which is awesome. 300 plus players or whatever these big events are. I'd love to just go and put my I wish I could go to bigger events because I feel that I could showcase what I can do at bigger events, and I just get to go to lots of like little RTTs and stuff. So I'm practicing a lot. I'm doing like online stuff or doing like team events a lot because we do practice a lot of team events. But there's something cool to say about going to like a singles event, just putting your head down, winning every game by a point, or whatever it is, and just like trying to do that 12 to 14 games or whatever the heck they make you play nowadays and still be standing at the end of it, which I think would be awesome.
Nice.
If you ever decide to come over to the UK, I'm sure Simon will look after you, and we will look after you if you can. So events that I think you would love that are like massive events in the UK. Obviously LGT, London Grand Tournament, that's 1,000 players.
Yeah.
If you ever get your buddies to come along to an international tournament, the ITT next month is 500 players.
Yeah.
It's this month, isn't it, Simon?
Yes, this month, yeah.
Christ. And then we've got, as you can see there, we're sponsored by Glasshammer Gaming. Little shout out to them. That's Manny Chima's.
Yeah, I went to play Manny last year. Was it no, the year before last? I actually got to go over and have a game with him. That was fun.
Yeah, well, he started his own tournament series, and his is
Nice.
up to 300 players. So the UK is very lucky that we have lots of massive tournaments coming. But anyway, enough of me talking. I'll let Simon continue.
Just your thought process on list, you touched on that But yeah, what's your thought process on a list? You said about teams. Do you predominantly build lists for team events, or do you try and do stuff for more RTTs or GTs, or what's your thoughts
I
on
think
building?
as a competitive player, I feel there's like the real answer to most of the questions you're going to ask me is it depends.
Yeah.
So it's really about having a focus whenever you build a list. So you have to understand what you're trying to do. So if you are building a list for a team event, it's really understanding if you're building a balanced list that can do a bit of everything. If you're building a more attacking list that's designed to just go and like hit the enemy really hard and try and like take the wind out of their sails, or if you're designing a list that is more of a defensive style that can kind of clog up the works.
Yeah.
From a personal level, I'm more of a tricksy player, which means that I play a lot more technical style lists and do well with technical lists that have like either multiple combos that you're trying to get off in a game, or they have like multiple moving pieces that are more complicated to sort of like put into play on the table. They do require a little bit more practice, and sequencing is very important to try and get the most out of all the units that you have. And that can be hard for someone who just like looks at a list from like a tournament thing to pick up and go with it.
Yeah.
Now,
like
in
Sky
between,
Splinter seems to sort of suit your style. It's very finesse, very meticulous.
Sky Splinter has been great. Like I did okay with Real Space Raiders, because I needed to, because I play Dark Eldar. I was going to make something work. I'm not going to let a Codex or Games Workshop's like inability to balance something like to stop me from playing the faction that I want to play.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Whatever my faction is and whatever their power level is, I'm going to leverage my skill set to make what I want work rather than wait for it to work for me to be able to play it.
Cool.
And when it comes to like Sky Splinter, MSU tends to be like something I tend to do all the time with Dark Eldar, just like lots of, for anybody who doesn't know, multiple small units. So I'll always try and have multiple squads of 5 rather than like 2 squads of 10, it's 4 squads of 5, you know, that sort of thing. Because I like having lots of options to throw away. I'm a very callous commander. All my army is supposed to die every game. That's fine. It doesn't matter to me because they come back next game, right? It's not like real war where you're trying to like not get all your guys killed. Because you just reset next game and all your guys show up again. Yay, right? So, and then I supplement that sort of like hard competitive stuff with like very fun themed things to kind of mix the pot a little bit and also force my creative thought process, which means that if I go to like an RTT, like I don't need to go to an RTT and win it. I don't feel like that's my accolades. Like that's not a goal I need to achieve anymore. So when I go to like
spreading the hobby, you love spreading the passion and spreading the happiness of playing this game. You're learning and you want someone else to have a good time playing the game against you as well.
Right. I'm not like every once in a while, if I'm testing for a big GT, I'll take like my hard-nosed list to a little RTT and I'll be like, okay, does it work? And then you stomp 3 people and you're like, okay, it works. And then you can go and like take it to the GT. But other times I'm like, what would happen? And I've done this actually at GTs where I take like a meme list to a GT and just see what would happen. Like all Coven units, no Cabal or Witch Cult, you know, or all Witch Cult, no Coven or Cabal units, you know. And then it gets really wacky. So I do have like serious list building stuff, but I love also making wacky things. And when I take it to events, it's like with zero expectation. And then I take little tidbits that I learned from those crazy experiences and then sort of like funnel things that I liked from those into like my competitive thought process. But you don't get that unless you get creative with it. You'll never find out that a detachment works best for you or an enhancement works best for you or a unit combination works best for you until you try it, instead of just listening to like online pundits like tell you what is or what is not good.
Yeah,
right?
I had that in 9th edition. People saying, oh, you can't run this, you can't do this. Okay, I'm going to go build a list around that model or that unit now and go win an event to say that I can do it.
Right. And I feel like a lot of us Dark Eldar players have that stickativity. You know, we're not like very big in like the arena of the game in sense of like crazy amounts of people that play us. And yes, a lot of people can condense our faction into, well, if you don't go first, it's harder for you or whatever. Like, sure. But it's not about that. It's about playing the mission, and we are one of the only factions that consistently since 7th edition, even before then, can play missions very, very well. Like, it just, maybe except for like Purge, which is like the toughest mission, but at least right now. But yeah.
What would be your favorite moment you've had in a game? Like, mine was having an Archon make 25 2-up inbowl saves in one battle.
That's actually a really good Shadowfield run.
Yeah.
Are we measuring Shadowfield runs here?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Okay. 3 games in a row.
Oh god.
A combined total of 72.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
72 2-ups.
Yeah.
And that's when Dustin, my friend Dustin Henshaw, who runs the Stud or Scrub podcast, right? Him and I are co-hosts on the Stud or Scrub podcast. He plays Genius to the Cult. And that was, first of all, we played like his Archon versus my Archon because he had some Dark Eldar. Anyway, it's like 72 Shadowfield saves to the point where he stopped trying and just always tried to kill my Archon with some form of mortal wound because he's just done with it. Even to this day, you go up to him and go 72, and he's like, no.
I think that's a way of getting someone punched in the face. Yeah.
But one of my favorite moments. One of my favorite moments in a game of Warhammer. Like, I've been playing for so long that like there's so many. It's hard to like pinpoint one or two like moments in time that are like the thing that I would want to like share. But they're all like, you know, I've seen the wackiest stuff in the game. Like, I've seen people go, I die if I fail these 5 2-up saves and then roll all ones, right? I've seen that end of the spectrum. I've seen the other where it's like, I need to make 15 6-up feel no pains, and you make 15 6-up feel no pains in like a single roll. Like, seen those spectrum things, but I feel like, I think one of my favorite moments, I would have to say, was getting best Necron player. Ironically,
that's your new trophy, isn't it? Right?
It is, yeah. At the War Masters Championship last year, at the World Championship, at the WTC, at the singles event, I won best Necron. Which is really like, the trophy was awesome because there's this huge story around the trophy.
Yeah, maybe talking about that was fantastic.
Right? Yeah, so, and that trophy still comes to me to every event I go to in my bag. And if I go to a team tournament and we have a Necron player on the team, the Necron player gets to put the trophy, like keep the trophy for the tournament, and like run the Necrons. So it's like become this really cool thing. But I don't play Necrons. Okay, like I play Necrons, but I don't play Necrons. And so winning best Necrons was hilarious. And,
it also probably helps when you've played against John Necron so much that you know how Necrons works.
Yep. Yeah, it does. I play against him a lot, but it does mean that I understand that faction intimately.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But that poor guy, I feel, gets beaten quite a lot with your, I'm going to test this nasty list. Come on over and we'll play this game.
He played 6 Catan into me. He can take the loss. Okay. That is, I will not.
But you're running 2 bombers.
Yeah, it was a wacky list. And by the way, that bomber list has been fantastic.
Yeah, I like the look of that one.
It is. I've tabled more armies in the last 10 games with that list than I can remember in the 10 games. Like, it is wild how much damage that list does. Wild. Anyway, but it's not easy.
My
to play.
18 grotesque list was weird, but yeah.
Yeah. And that's another list that's more designed to prove a point.
Yes.
Anything.
You can't do it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Here, hold my beer.
Didn't you run that into guard recently?
Yes, I did that against Chris from VT.
Like, grotesque is one of those things that like. There's something to be said about running off the wall lists. The key is, like, if you vibe well with any sort of list concept, you vibing with something that you like,
100%.
like, just it doesn't have to be good, but you vibing and understanding the combos and understanding the dynamics and like what you're capable and not capable of is so much more powerful than taking like a meta list.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah. I've always
So
gotten
much
well
more
with the
powerful.
Coven more than I have Witch Cults.
Right.
But I could build a Coven list and go, cool, I know how this is going to work because I know I need this, this, this.
Yep.
And I've always had, and it's a redundancy of having to feel no pain, I feel.
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
just been
it's
so
great.
useful.
Like those little defensive buffs, you know, feel no pain, -1 to wound. Like if you're playing Respace Raid, or you know, if you're doing, you know, have some sort of enhancement on them or whatever, or using cover. I don't know. There's ways to increase that
Yeah.
like quite substantially mathematically, and it kind of messes with people's math in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
That is value all on its own.
Definitely. Would you have any advice for new players coming into Drukari?
Oh man, number one, just understand that a lot of the models that are not available, like especially the ones that like I'm saying, yeah, beast packs are great, right? Because they are, but you can't buy them. You know, so you either have to source them, convert them, right, or like find them secondhand somewhere, right?
Yeah.
The Court of the
Your
Archon.
chimeras are direwolves, right? Or
so I own two. I own two like actual chimeras.
Yeah.
I own 2 actual Claude Fiends. I own 2 actual beast packs. All my Razorwing flocks are the zombicide crow beasts, like birds, which is a great model for that.
Yeah.
And then some of my chimera are Lord of the Rings wargs.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
And then I've got a couple of Fenrisian wolves as
well. That's
the
one, Fenrisian wolves.
Yeah.
Yes.
More like I only take those when I play against my friend Billy, who plays wolves.
Yeah. I built 5 grotesques from the Wolfen kit just because one of our Plymouth friends.
That's such a hobbyist thing to do. When you like have a friend and you're like, I'm gonna paint this helmet that he's stepping on in your color scheme.
Yeah, I asked him what color is Space Wolves.
Your army.
Yeah, literally. I'm gonna paint them the same color like you did. I know.
That's such an us thing, like just a hobby community. Like you go, okay, are they Ultramarines because your friends play Ultramarines? Yes, they are.
You end up actually really appreciating that model a lot more. Like,
mm-hmm.
I always typically have a model in every army I build and like collection I have which is dedicated to trying to upset one of my friendship group in a funny way because it's in their honor. You know,
I love it. Yeah,
it just makes the hobby. These little tidbits are what make the community and make the hobby that little bit more special, right? Like because you can give these backstories and these stories. So I'm going to interfere with a little question here, Simon, because it's something we've gone off into an area I'm quite interested in.
Okay.
Skari, what is your model which has got the greatest backstory because of a community-led reason?
Community-led reason, or like cumulatively led reason? Well, I think Archon Skari, and just in general, is like,
here we go.
He's become his own little like character. Like it's just Archon Skari is Archon Skari, and he's been on adventures and he's killed many things, and like even at tournaments, you know, when somebody knows what I do or who Archon Skari is, they'll be like this cool little thing, be like, I'm gonna go kill Archon Skari and stuff. Like I feel like there's this sort of like, you know, like this like story around it, like this, you know, the just
it's a legend in its own right.
Yeah, it's really cool. You know, it is really cool. Like even going to the grand narrative, you know, when I went to the grand narrative in was it not last year, but the year before last, and I was running Archon Skari and Rosalia, the succubus, and the homunculus guy, and like even the random people I was playing, we were creating the story for like the system or whatever, but like Archon Skari was like forging his own path, and like opponents knew who Archon Skari was, so it was even cooler to have that story kind of like go that way, which is fun. Anyway, I think that would be one of the main ones. Historically, though, would have probably been my original Marshal Augustin, and he's gone to many iterations, and I actually wrote most of the story for him and built like this back, because all my Black Templars are like individually named, and I kept track of all their kills, and when I was 12, I was very into it. But yeah, I'd say community driven, definitely Archon Scary. Either that or my court, which is like, you know, slither, stab, bite, and stare.
Yeah.
You know, because I did a little Crusade series with them, and so every time I'm like, okay, this is slither, you know who that is. That's stare, you know who that is. That's, you know, bite, you know who that is, and that's stab, you know who that is. So fun times.
Yeah.
I'm satisfied. You can carry on, Simon.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was just going to ask what motivates you, but I think just giving Archon Scary more stories to tell is probably enough of a motivation for you.
Yeah, I think like motivation wise, I want to. Well, there's lots of different motivation. Like to play the hobby, I love playing the hobby because it's fun, right? Like
Yeah.
I enjoy building, painting, collecting, playing games, creating stories, right? Like that's really cool. From a competitive perspective, I like showcasing that you can play the game without being a dick, right? So like you can play the game hard and not take advantage of people's niceness.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's you know, I try to embody that when I play. Like I will, and I'm very conscious of my own morality when I'm playing that game, where I'm like, I could fudge it at any point in time because my opponent doesn't know what my army does, but I'm not going to do that. There's like this line that you just don't cross. So every win you win and every event you win, there's no gray area where you're like, you know, there's no shadow on you being like, I wouldn't have won it because I know I was an inch out to like shoot this guy or whatever, but I said I was in or whatever, right? Like there's so many things that you have to be like aware of. So from a competitive standpoint, I like beating your face in, but we both had a great time, right? But and I don't mind if it's like no takes backs, like super tight, like if you get anything you forget, like it doesn't matter to me, right? That sort of stimulation, like it's like a fancy chess match, right? But as long as you're doing it with the right attitude and you're both on the same page, it works very well.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's nice. It's just refreshing to sort of hear. I've seen you on War Games Live. You've been on other, what's the tabletop live that you've been on quite a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And just watching you play live, and you have that personality of just, this is gonna be a fun game. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be cutthroat. It's gonna be, everything's gonna die, but we're gonna have fun. We're gonna smile doing it.
Like that's the key. Is we spend so much money, time, and effort playing little toy soldiers.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't suffer fools. Like in the sense that, like, if you really want to win and you're going to be a dick about it, like I'm not going to waste my time with you.
No, you can have.
You know
the
what I mean,
game,
like I don't care. You know, like I've got better things to do with my life than like argue pedantically about a rule. You know, it's like it's one of the reasons my pet peeve is like people pulling up laser pointers in a game. I'm like, get that fucking shit out of here. Pardon my language. But I'm like, get that out of here because you could just tell me that I'm not in line of sight and I don't care. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just tell me. Like, if it's truthful, just tell me. You don't have to pull out a little laser. Anyway.
I think we found his trigger.
Yeah. Laser pull that laser out. I'm going to point it at your face.
Blind you in the eye.
Yeah. Then I'll win.
Yeah. God damn. So, with hopefully our codex coming, maybe we might see an announcement at the next. Yeah, maybe not.
That was good radio, by the way. I was looking at my invisible watch.
Yeah. Yeah, they're doing what announcements next week? Sorry, at the time of filming, the time of release of this.
I have no idea.
GW have said that they're going to be doing more announcements for 40k.
I look forward to finding out when everybody finds out stuff.
But what would be your hopes for our codex? Any new changes?
Yeah, I hope they give Hellions a reason to be used because I love my Hellions. I think they're like one of the coolest models. I want to have.
Are they paying for sins of 9th and 8th edition though?
You know, just the inability to go through walls. Like even if they gave them like a scout move, so you could like hide them, and then like if you went first, you'd be like, "Oh, get aggressive with the Hellions," you know, or like an advance and charge, and then fall back and charge. Like just give them something spicy, you know, that they're like just a more consistent unit. But that'd be cool. Another thing is, there's so many resin models in our range that either they're going to make them into plastic or they're going to legends them, right?
Yeah.
And so that terrifies me, but at the same time, I could see them reinventing, say, the Beast Pack. So it's not called the Beastmaster, it's called something else. And they're like, it's like a completely different aesthetic, right? Where they're like, it's a guy on foot, not on a jet bike, and he's walking with like lumbering beasts or whatever that are more like grotesques than beasts. I don't know. Like, there's so many things that they could do. And I would love for them to do what spoilers for anybody who hasn't read The Path of the Archon. So if you haven't read The Path of the Archon, skip over this part, and like I won't spoil anything for you.
It's on my to read pile. I haven't read it yet either.
I can't say anything.
Wait. So you played Drukari, sorry.
Yeah.
And I've read The Path of the Archon.
Yeah.
And I don't play it.
I know.
I've
spoken to many Drukari players who are just ashamed of me as well.
Do you have the book?
Yes, I've got all three of them. Sorry, I've got the Path of the Archon. I've got the Eldar one. I've got. Yeah.
Anyway, so I want, but it'd be really cool for them to sort of like bring in different units. Now, biggest wish list thing though is number 1, bring back combat drugs. Number 2. Right? Like, and don't get me wrong, I feel like they introduced that mechanic for the mech army for the orcs where they're like, roll on this chart or pick something and take damage or whatever, right? Yeah. Like for like their crazy souped up weapons, like press the red button style stuff. So I could see them being like a witch cult army where everybody gets drugs and they're like, your units just can pick like bonuses or roll for bonuses or whatever. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
But I want a jet bike Archon, okay? I want an Archon that can zippy zap around the board super fast and punch things with his giant incubi clave with a tormentor helm like he did in the past. That's what I want.
You're the reason we can't have nice things because you put them in Lawrence, went and did things with jet bikes, and now we can't have them anymore.
I didn't actually play that jet bike list one time. Okay, I own 9 jet bikes. That's it. I own 9 painted jet bikes. 8 now because one disappeared somewhere. But I do have a few more to paint, which I will eventually get to.
Yeah, okay. It's just Lawrence's fault then.
Yeah, we'll blame tabletop for tactics for that.
Are we going to see Vect again?
Do you want to see him right now?
Should we ever see Vect again?
Yeah, I think he's like so powerful. It'd be like putting the Emperor on the table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Vect is like really OP. If anything, I'd like them to bring back like Duke Sliskus or Lady Malice or like the Decapitator. Like there's so many like characters they could bring back because they did release the new Mandrake kit. I wouldn't be surprised if the Decapitator is like a single character model that they would add in because he's such a cool model lore-wise.
He is referenced in the Kill Team book, I think, isn't he? In that
I haven't read the Kill Team book, but like he was so cool. He just goes out, goes, "Oh, your head for my collection," and then he goes in and like just boop, chops your head off, puts it on his little altar thing. You know, that's it. He just shows up, takes your head, leaves. That's all his job is. Like it's terrifying.
Yeah, sounds about right for a Mandrake.
Yep.
The Mandrake models are stunning. Like they.
I still need to buy the new box. I've already got 30 Mandrakes. I don't need any more.
Yeah, like I've got the 15 old ones, so I'm going to rebase them all onto the new base size, which is like 28 millimeters, and then I have 5 that are metal, so they don't really they can just be repainted relatively easy. But then I've got 10 of the fine cast ones, and I'm so glad to get them off my bloody table. Yeah. And I will say that this new Mandrake kit is going to help me because they have a lot of weapons and stuff that I can like fix all the weapons that broke over many years of using fine cast tiny little swords that just snap at an instant.
Yeah, my Mandrake blades have snapped more times than I can imagine and can care to count. But yeah, I would love to see Grotesque come back, new model for Grotesques.
It'd be cool. A multi-part kit for Grotesques that is similar to the Talos and Kronos kit, where you have like so many different pieces and you can use them for conversions and like maybe different weapon options. Like imagine if you could have like the Liquefier version of the Grotesques and then maybe like a Dark Lance, Heat Lance version where they like run around like melt tanks and things like that. That'd be so cool.
That would be amazing.
Right?
I think people would hate us even more, though.
Yeah, but you know what? Ripen the fruit. Take a nice big juicy bite.
I've been playing. I've been to events recently, and even now in 10th edition, I've still had people I'm playing go, "I've never faced Drukari before."
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. Considering how prevalent we were in 9th edition, it seems odd that we're still.
A lot of people
facing
came
people.
into the hobby late 9th when Dark Eldar wasn't really that powerful anymore,
Mm,
or
yeah.
they've come into the in 10th. Like 10th edition, there's a lot of new people that have started to play this game because of the marketing and the licensing that they've been doing with 40K, and so it's become more like a populist zeitgeist sort of game, where it's like Henry Cavill talks about it on talk shows, and you know South Park references it in an episode, and like there's so many different things that it's become more about it's more popular culture, like 40K, right? What is 40K? It is a game, right? And it's more than that. It's computer games. It's, you know, it's books, it's lore, it's board games. It's just like all this other stuff that has nothing to do with us putting soldier toys on a table and playing with little buildings and shit, right? Yeah. So it's like, and I feel that that's like, it's come to a really cool point where it's like, it's big, right? And everybody kind of knows it's just more accepted and whatnot. At the same time, like it comes with all the negatives that involve with that, where the game itself is more designed to be like the McDonald's of games, like Age of Sigmar and 40K, like they're more streamlined. It's designed to be user friendly to get people to sort of like get involved. It's like they're selling a DLC to us every 3 years where they just change the rules for no freaking reason so they can resell everything. And so it's like it is a neo-capitalist game at this point, right? Where like but it's cool that you can still play with models, some models. Like you can still play with any models, even the ones that you had from like when you were 12, right? Yeah. Like you can still play with Rogue Trader Marines if you really wanted to. You know what I mean? Just rebase them, put them on, you know, have your little tiny rhino, whatever, you know, like fine. You know, so whatever.
Yeah, one final question for me. If with obviously Henry Cavill doing a new Warhammer 40K TV series, what would you like to see and what part are you going to play in it?
Well, I definitely play the villain you never see, right? That you hear about in the background, but
I can just imagine your laugh in the background of one of the episodes.
The Dark Kin on the little recording or something. Anyway,
so
that would be it. To be honest, based on the scope of stuff that like Amazon has done, right? Like, because it's going to be an Amazon show, I believe. Yes. So it's like they've done Halo, they've done what was one they did? Rings of Power, right? All this stuff that they've done. And okay, it's hit or miss. Like you can be a fan, you can not be a fan, you can trash talk anything you do. Something that they do have is money, and they can throw money at it. You know what? I'm the kind of person who will watch it and be like, it's the game I've played for 30 years, right? And I'm gonna enjoy this, whatever it is, show of any kind, you know. But I could see them from a technical perspective, maybe putting it from the perspective of like an Inquisitor or a Guardsman or a regimental commander or something that's more human, right? So you can have like that human character development. Because I do feel like Space Marines, for example, or Custodes or whatever, they're not exactly very human in the first place. And they're very, like, you can't really relate to them. They're like indoctrinated, psycho-modified humans that are like biologically modified to literally just be killing machines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
there's
they're
no
like
story there. It's not. There's no.
Sure, it's cool to see them stomping around and shooting bolters, but like technically, a unit of 5 Terminators will, like, will secure an entire planet. Yes. You know, like lore-wise, they are like wild. You know, so is that propaganda? Who knows? But at the same time, I do feel it would have to be from like more of a human perspective, and then seeing these other like angels of death or whatever. And I think Warhammer Plus and some of the shows they've done on there have really helped with some of that like vision, you know, of like giving you perspective on different elements of the 40K lore and Age of Sigmar lore and stuff like that. So hopefully they can translate a lot of that stuff into like live action. You know, but it's like it depends on how PG they want to be with it. Because like at its core, 40K is not PG.
No.
Like 40K is
The books are some of the most graphic stories ever.
yeah, 40K is a dark place, and it is not fun. Like I would not want to live in 40K.
I've seen the memes online of people going, "Would you like to visit your story that you read about?" And there's people going, "Star Wars, yeah. Lord of the Rings, yeah. Warhammer 40K, no, thank you."
Nope.
No.
It would be terrifying. Yeah, imagine if you're like psychically like attuned and you just literally blow up and turn into a warp portal, and then like the demons just start popping out of your chest or whatever. Like that'd be terrifying. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll see what they do, because if they do it very dark and like R-rated, I feel like they could capture the essence, but because of the demographics of making money, I don't think they would go to that point, because then they'd cut the demographic that they could market it to like quite drastically. So the more sort of kid friendly they make it, or preteen-ish friendly they make it, the more likely is the kind of thing we're going to see, like the odd graphic Gene Stealer ripping up someone or whatever. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you'll just pan like, you see like
get a splash of blood
fade to black or whatever,
Yeah.
Who knows? And I hope it's more of a psychological thriller, like where it builds and it makes you think, kind of like what they did with Shogun, right? Where it's not like they didn't baby us during that show. Like the show was like, you're a smart individual who's watching this show. You can make inferences and connections, and they didn't have to like explain everything, right? No. And I hope that they kind of take a page out of that style of making like a video or like a series.
Definitely.
I do have an opinion on the Amazon Prime side of it. I really hope they do Eisenhorn. Some of the best books out there, very human. I'd love to see an Eisenhorn Amazon Prime style show. I think it'd be excellent.
Well, from the point of view of like an Inquisitor, right?
Yeah. Like
that would be excellent. Like even there's I think a scene in Eisenhorn in the books where he's like literally talking to a librarian or something, right? And he's like, the teacup he's using is like little tiny teacup, right? And then the Space Marine's like literally daintily grabbing this tiny teacup without crushing it with his giant hands. And he's like, that's what he's focused on. Be like, how's this monster like not like just crush me if he wanted to, sort of thing, right? Yeah.
He's also a very cool character as well, and it'd be definitely a good one. Or any of the guard stories is always a good one.
Well, they're human, right? They're human surrounded by danger.
Yeah, and you can relate to how they would feel. And
Gaunt's Ghost would be an excellent example.
Yeah.
Of a cool story. I mean, there's just so much lore, and there's so many stories to get your teeth sunk into. It's literally endless, and we could sit here and speculate for days as to what they may or may not do. But all we know is that it's coming of some description. And
it would be really cool if folks sent in comments and been like, "This is what I'd like to see," right? Like you could comment, they could comment, or send a message on the podcast or whatever.
I mean, what would be really? I agree. If you're interested. What we've talked about, I'd love to see what you guys all would like to see from the new up-and-coming Henry Cavill 40K show eventually when that comes. Drop it into the comments of here, and myself, maybe Scary and Simon, we'll keep an eye out for that, and we'll have a read and see what you all think. But I'd love to see Eisenhorn personally. What about yourself, Simon? What would you like to see?
Gaunt's Ghosts. It's something you could relate to because humans going through war. Gaunt's Ghosts, just some great stories. Great
what about
characters.
yourself, Scary? If there was a particular thing,
like a specific one that I'd like to see. The Dark Eldar is just really dark. Like you can't really do that stuff and be okay for like cinema. Like
that's gonna be an 18.
That would be like even reading Jane Czar and she visits the Dark City. That's like, it's pretty dark what she sees. No, but there's some really cool like the old omnibuses. There's like this one story that I really liked in the Space Marine omnibus, which I really enjoyed. It was like Black Templars defending like a spaceport against like a corn cultists that were like coming in swarms or whatever. So I really like that kind of story, like last stand against all odds, demons everywhere. but like from the perspective of not necessarily the Black Templars, like Hell's Reach, for example. That would be a perfect example. You know, Hell's Reach, where it's like from the perspective of, you know, one of the people that literally survives to the very end with Grimaldus, right before the whole cathedral comes crashing down or whatever, right? Like that's that sort of story where like the Space Marines are like, there's only 100 of them. They're like supporting the defenders. Like there's one Space Marine like cheering on like all the guardsmen around them and trying to support the fire, you know, and that would be really cool. Yeah.
Well, you've heard it here, folks. All of our opinions. Like I said, if you've got an opinion on this, please drop it in the comments below, and we'll make sure that we can get to that. Simon, have you exhausted all of your questions?
Yes, that is me spent.
Well, look, I think this is a good time. It's Sky. I want to take a massive opportunity to say thank you for joining us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure just to kind of just hear you talk about your experiences and how you perceive the hobby. And it's really refreshing as well, because it is very different over in the UK. Like UKTC is very different to WTC, and you hear people out there, you'll hear all these different words, and we talk about the UKTC, WTC, ITT. If you don't know what they are, don't be afraid to comment and ask, and we will happily tell you. And Scary, I think what you do is you embody the entirety of the hobby, which is rare nowadays, to have somebody who literally loves every aspect of it, and just has like you have your backstory for your characters. You immerse yourself in the lore. You love the painting side of it, and I can see that you've got that. Even got the is it called the halo lamp? Is that what they are?
Is that what it is? I think so. It's definitely an arc.
Yeah, the halo, the arc, or whatever you want to call it.
It has a cool little clamp up here for my webcam, so I can like point the webcam down. It's kind of cool.
It's really refreshing to speak to like-minded hobbyists. Both myself and Simon, we've been doing it a long time. I think I started when I was 11 and I never stopped, even when I discovered, the fairer sex and all that jazz. I still carried it on 20 plus years later, and I think I'll still be doing it for another 20 plus years, if it's hopefully everything going well. But no, big thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me. This was really fun. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate that.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
it means a lot.
Yeah, we appreciate. We're a very small channel, and it's just great that people like yourself, who are established in this universe of YouTube land, coming on here and supporting us. It means a lot to us, and we just want to say a massive thank you again. Obviously, I've been Arron from Black Crow, Simon from Black Crow, and we've got Scary. If you want to hear more from Scary, tell us a little bit where we can find you. That's something we should tell them before we go.
I'm sure there's going to be a link in the doobly-doo.
There will be a link in the doobly-doo. You're right.
So you find me on YouTube, just right here, Scarredcast. I do mainly content that relates to Dark Eldar, but the aim is teaching more than anything. So like I try to make you learn something. I do from competitive to narrative as well. You can also find links to my Patreon on there. I do stuff with Mini Wargaming all the time, and so come on over, say hi. It'd be cool to teach you something.
As Gary said, there'll be links in the description. If you also want to join us and with Black Crow, we have our Discord link in our description as well. Come join us on our Discord. Come chat to ourselves. We're always available. There's always someone from the Black Crow community available to talk to. We're a growing team. We're always looking for new people who might want to fit and join in with the Black Crow gaming scene. If you are looking for money off of your miniatures, and obviously money is tight nowadays, Glasshammer Gaming already offer a whopping 20% off everything that you buy. However, if you put in the code Black Crow, you get an additional 5%, so that gives you 25% off your Warhammer purchases or your hobby purchases or whatever you might want to purchase in the future. And we also are proudly sponsored by Terrain Forge. Our last video showed that our big giveaway, and we gave away a massive Terrain GT style giveaway, and that was won by one of our viewers, Darren Chapman, who's very luckily got the big GT set. We are going to be doing more giveaways in the future, so make sure that you tune in and watch this space. But I've been Arron from Black Crow, Simon, Sky. Thank you for joining me tonight. See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye everybody.